Choosing the right business structure is obviously important because the different structures produce very different taxation outcomes. And the purpose of this video is that the wrong choice can be really costly. So the best way of demonstrating that is to give you an example. So we had this new client come to us. Turnover was about $2 million a year. They've been making profits of about $500K a year. And that's a pretty decent result for a business of that size. So they had pretty big tax bills. Their business had been set up in a discretionary trust before coming to us, and that means that the profits are distributed every year, and there was only the husband and wife, their children were too young to receive anything. So in effect, this money, $500,000 a year, was being distributed to them. They were both therefore on the highest marginal tax rate, and they were paying close to 50% in tax. So what's the problem with this structure? Well, there were a couple of problems that were really obvious. The first one was that they're paying tax at the rate of 50% or high 40s, give or take. So it's pretty significant whack. And because their business was growing and they were reinvesting and needed to reinvest so much of that profit in their business, their rate of reinvestment was much lower than it could have been if they'd been in an alternative structure. For example, a company where the tax rate would have been 30%, give or take, on those profits. So instead of reinvesting 70 cents in the dollar, they were only able to reinvest 50 cents in the dollar. And we calculated that over the preceding 5 years that they'd been doing this, they probably wasted somewhere in the order of $100,000 in unnecessary tax bills that, had they operated in the correct structure, or the preferable structure being a company in this case, they could have saved that money and used it for much more productive use within the business. So to make matters worse, they were about to embark on some pretty applied research and development, which in Australia has some pretty decent R&D tax incentives. The problem was, and still is, that trusts are generally not eligible for that incentive. You really must be in a company. So the money that they spent on R&D that otherwise would have been eligible for some pretty big tax breaks, they completely missed out on that as well. And they were just the two obvious ones. There were even further potential problems beyond that, which really no one had contemplated, be it their previous accountants when they set this up, or the clients, but in our view, there was just a failure somewhere there to choose the right structure. And it cost the client a lot of money and a lot of opportunity in R&D claims. And there were going to be many other problems in years to come if they wanted to bring in other parties as partial stakeholders rather than sell the whole business. And that was certainly on the cards, but again, without the proper investigation when this was set up, the structure was put in place before those things were given enough consideration. So that was a big unnecessary cost for them, and I think it's probably a really good example of the importance of getting that right. Hopefully that's been helpful for you today. If you are going to start a business or an investment entity, speak to your accountant, get structural tax planning before you do anything. So hopefully that's helped. We'll see you next time.